The large cities with the most homicides per 100,000 people. Number 1 was New Orleans, Louisiana. Number 2 was Memphis, Tennessee. Number 3 was St. Louis City. Number 4 was Baltimore City. Number 5 was Washington, D.C. Democrat crime policies kill people.
And all of us want the same thing, which is lower crime in our communities. I may be the person in this committee that has made a decision in my life about 25, 30 years ago to move into a very high crime neighborhood. I have friends that have died by gun violence. Mentees of mine have died by gun violence. And I'm telling you right now, pitting us against each other in this false fight narrative that we don't share that common urgency and can't find common ground. This committee right now is having a hearing that is not about finding common ground and working to find solutions.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down a heated Senate hearing that turned into a fiery clash between Senator Cory Booker and Senator Ted Cruz over crime, red states, blue states, and who's really to blame for America's rising violence. Before we dive in, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss a video exposing what's really happening in Washington. Let's start with how this all began. The hearing was supposed to be about crime and public safety, but it quickly turned into a political war. Lawmakers started debating whether crime is a red state problem or a blue city crisis. Some senators argued that this tribal red versus blue narrative is tearing the country apart. That we should be focused on solutions, not political branding. But not everyone agreed with that take. Senator Cory Booker came out swinging. He said the hearing itself was based on a false premise, that red or blue states are somehow safer or more dangerous. He brought data, real statistics, claiming that states that voted Republican have actually had higher murder rates than Democrat states for over 20 years. Booker said, "We all want the same thing, safer communities, but pitting Americans against each other is the problem, not the solution." He even gave credit to both sides, pointing out that Trump's First Step Act and Biden's increase in police funding both helped make a difference. His message: stop fighting, start fixing. If you agree that we need solutions, not slogans, hit that subscribe button right now.
A hearing about blue states and red states is a fiction that is being driven in this country, that somehow we have this tribalistic fight that is causing our problems, and that's not it. In fact, that is the problem.
Because unfortunately, most red states have blue cities, and that's where the crime is. If you want to look at in 2023, the large cities with the most homicides per 100,000 people. Number 1 was New Orleans, Louisiana. Number 2 was Memphis, Tennessee. Number 3 was St. Louis City. Number 4 was Baltimore City. Number 5 was Washington, D.C. You should be cheering a 57% decrease in crime, robbery, a 58% decrease in homicide. There are people in D.C. alive because the Guard is there, and not a single Democrat is saying, that's good. Not a single Democrat is saying, we're glad those people are alive. Instead, they're saying, take them off the street and let the murderers run free.
Blue city chaos and tragedy. How the Trump administration is addressing human costs of soft crime policies. Dear God, we continue in this nation to deepen partisan divide and to undermine the truth that we share common cause, common purpose, and even common sense. In a bipartisan way, we have worked year after year to invest in the resources that keep our communities safe. And now I'm sitting in a hearing that somehow wants to pit red against blue, as if they're not Republicans and Democrats that live in every county and every state, and all of us want the same thing, which is lower crime in our communities. I may be the person in this committee that has made a decision in my life about 25, 30 years ago to move into a very high crime neighborhood. I have friends that have died by gun violence. Mentees of mine have died by gun violence. And I'm telling you right now, pitting us against each other in this false fight narrative that we don't share that common urgency and can't find common ground. This committee right now is having a hearing that is not about finding common ground and working to find solutions, but driving a false divide based upon a false pretext that somehow places that vote for one party over another are more dangerous, and that's just not true. The murder rate, this is truth data, the murder rate in states that voted for Donald Trump have actually exceeded the murder rate in the states that voted for Kamala Harris in every year since from 2000 to 2023. Over the course of this century, the average murder rate in Trump voting states is 50% higher than in Harris voting states. Do we really want to talk about crime in that manner? Since 2000, the top 10 murder rate states have been dominated and reliably places that have voted for Republicans. The red state murder rate was 33% higher than the blue state murder rate in 2021 and 2022. 2022 was the 23rd consecutive year that murder-plagued states that voted for the president in this past election have higher rates. 8 out of 10 states that had the highest murder rate in 2022 voted for. I could go on and on and on. This is not constructive to the work we have to do. Anybody who's had the tragedy of losing people they love don't care about our partisan fights. They care about us finding solutions. And we have done that on this committee before. Donald Trump signed the First Step Act into law. Joe Biden increased COPS grants higher than any other president in the modern era. I am so exhausted by hearings like this that are far more about posturing to our political divide than trying to create common ground. Let me tell you about common ground. I've worked with some of my colleagues across the aisle to do things like surge funding. Last Congress, me and Republican colleagues on this committee introduced legislation that would establish more resources for law enforcement agencies to hire, retain, and train detectives to deal with what is a national problem, which is homicide clearance rates. There are evidence-based strategies that will keep us safer. A hearing about blue states and red states is a fiction that is being driven in this country, that somehow we have this tribalistic fight that is causing our problems, and that's not it. In fact, that is the problem. That we in this country have not understood that we belong to each other, that we share common ground, that we have common values, and that there are strategies that we could be pursuing as opposed to fighting each other. The kind of partisanship that's toxic in this nation is what we saw in the president's first act. To take criminals who beat police officers, criminals who beat them so savagely, people like Brian Sicknick died, and then to pardon those police officers for particularly partisan reasons. That's unjustifiable and something that should bring us all together. The pretext for this hearing is a farce. It's belied by the evidence, it's belied by common sense, and doesn't get this committee back to the work that I've seen done constructively in Congress after Congress, despite who's president and who's in the majority. We in this committee have done the work together to make our country safer. We are seeing crime going down, but that's little satisfaction to people who have seen their families victimized by crime. We have work to do, but this ain't it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, it's clear from this hearing the Democrat talking points have come out. Both Senator Padilla and Senator Booker spent a great deal of time talking about, quote, red states. There's a reason they were talking about red states, because unfortunately most red states have blue cities, and that's where the crime is. If you want to look at in 2023,
We break this stuff down without the political spin. Then came Senator Ted Cruz, and things got intense. Cruz argued that even though red states might have higher overall murder rates, the real problem lies in blue-run cities within those states, places like New Orleans, Memphis, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. According to Cruz, Democrat crime policies and so-called Soros-backed DAs are letting violent offenders walk free, and innocent people are paying the price. He read off a heartbreaking list of victims, young people, parents, even embassy staff, all murdered in D.C. Cruz said it's simple cause and effect. When you release murderers onto the streets, people die. Cruz didn't stop there. He pointed to recent data from D.C. showing that when the National Guard was deployed, robberies fell 57% and homicides dropped 58%. He said, there are people alive today because the Guard was there, but not one Democrat is celebrating that. For Cruz, the takeaway was clear. Tough on crime policies work, and lenient laws fail. He even highlighted the Clean D.C. Act, a bill he introduced to repeal the Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Act, which police say has crippled the DC department by cutting officers, stripping protections, and empowering criminals. The head of the DC Police Union testified that repealing that law is the alpha and omega of fixing public safety in DC. By the end, it was a sharp contrast. Booker called for unity, data-driven reform, and mutual respect. Cruz called for accountability, stronger policing, and an end to soft-on-crime policies. Both agree that crime is destroying families, but they can't agree on what's causing it. So the question is, who's right? Are Democrat policies to blame for rising crime, or are Republicans pushing a misleading narrative? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I read every single one of them. At the end of the day, both sides claim to care about safety, but the divide just keeps growing. What we saw in this hearing wasn't just about crime, it was about the soul of the country, and whether we can still come together around facts, not politics. If you want more honest breakdowns of what's really happening in Washington, subscribe, tap the bell, and give this video a thumbs up so more people can see the truth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay informed, stay free.
The large cities with the most homicides per 100,000 people. Number 1 was New Orleans, Louisiana. Number 2 was Memphis, Tennessee. Number 3 was St. Louis City. Number 4 was Baltimore City. Number 5 was Washington, D.C. Democrat crime policies kill people. Soros DAs who let murderers out of jail kill people. When you don't prosecute violent criminals, innocent victims die. Right here in Washington, D.C., in 2012, murders in D.C. totaled fewer than 100. By 2023, murders had nearly tripled, 274 lives taken in a single year. These are the real-world consequences of Democrat crime policies that let murderers go. It is very simple cause and effect. If you release murderers onto the street, they will kill people, and they do it all across the country. And we need to understand these are not just numbers. Here are some of the faces behind those numbers. Edward Corstein, 19, brutally assaulted during a carjacking attempt in D.C. Eric Tarpinian Jakim, 21, a young congressional intern gunned down in the capital city. Honesty Cheadle, 3 years old, just a toddler, killed by stray gunfire. Sarah Lynn Milgram, 26, and Yaron Lachinsky, 30, Israeli embassy staffers newly in love on the verge of engagement, brutally murdered. Mike Gill, 56, a husband, father of 3. Former Trump administration official shot in cold blood during a D.C. carjacking rampage. These aren't just names. These are sons and daughters, husbands and wives, parents and grandchildren. Mrs. Cook, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the unbelievable pain and loss that you have endured through the loss of your grandson. I'm sorry that happened. Your grandson should have been protected. The city should have protected your grandson. He should still be alive. And tragically, this pattern keeps on happening. Now, Senator Booker also said we should have bipartisan agreement. I think that's a great idea. We should have bipartisan agreement. How about we all come together and say, let's stop murders? How about we all come together and say, let's stop rape? How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles? I want you to look at what happened when the National Guard went to D.C. Robbery fell by 57%, homicide fell by 58%, sex abuse fell by 40%. Those are real results. And Detective Pemberton, if you would tell this committee what was the effect of the 2022 Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Law, and what would the benefit be for the people of D.C. if Congress passes my Clean D.C. Act?
Thank you, Senator Cruz, and thank you for introducing the Clean D.C. Act, which repeals the Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Act. It is unquestionably one of the worst pieces of legislation, public safety legislation I've ever seen, and it has completely dismantled and destroyed the Metropolitan Police Department to the tune of more than 800 police officers short. It has eliminated their bargaining rights. It has eliminated their due process rights. It has changed the use of force policy so that facts unknown to officers can be used against them in charging them criminally. It exposes all of their personnel records to public databases. I could go on and on. It is an 86-page bill. Each subtitle in that bill is worse than the last, and it was designed to defund and destroy the police department. It was designed to hamstring police officers and make sure that criminals, even when convicted, would be protected from being held accountable. Repealing that bill is everything. It is the alpha and the omega of fixing criminal justice in the District of Columbia, and we must repeal that as soon as possible. This is what we have been shouting from the rooftops for 5 years. We knew it when we saw the language in the bill that it was going to be devastating. No one would listen to us. And thankfully now, thanks to your bill and Congressman Clyde's bill on the House side, we can actually get this bill repealed so we can get back to fixing the police department and bringing crime down permanently in the nation's capital.
And Detective Pemberton, you're the head of the D.C. Police Officers Union.
Yes, sir.
In your judgment, passing the Clean D.C. Act would make Washington, D.C. safer, would reduce murders, would reduce violent crime?
Permanently, yes, sir.
And I would point out again, Senator Booker, and it seems none of the Democrats are here now, Senator Booker said we should be bipartisan. I can think of few issues that are more natural for bipartisanship than stopping crime. It used to be the case. You know, this committee used to work together when it came to violent crime. It's only been in the last few years that elected Democrats have decided that releasing violent criminals is something to be celebrated. Earlier, Mr. Taylor made reference to Soros DAs. George Soros has spent millions of dollars electing DAs all over the country who turn around and let violent criminals go. The Democrat Party unleashed the crazy with the Abolish the Police movement. And the Abolish the Police movement wasn't just in the abstract. Cities all across the country slashed funding for police. Minneapolis slashed the funding for police. The NYPD cut its funding over $1 billion. Sadly, Austin, Texas cut the funding for its police $150 million. When you take police off the streets, people die. There's a direct cause and effect, but there are two ways to abolish the police. One is going after the police themselves, which Democrats have decided that is their party position. But the second way you abolish the police is you put in place Soros DAs who just won't charge anyone. That means the police cannot do their job because when they arrest a murderer, a Soros DA turns around and lets them go. When they arrest a carjacker, a Soros DA turns around and lets them go. And for the life of me, I do not understand why Democrats are not celebrating the reduction in crime, go back to the reduction in crime in D.C., that we've seen with the guard on the ground. You should be cheering a 57% decrease in crime, robbery, a 58% decrease in homicide. There are people in D.C. alive because the guard is there, and not a single Democrat is saying, that's good. Not a single Democrat is saying, we're glad those people are alive. Instead, they're saying, take them off the street and let the murderers run free.
Senator,
That's not serving anybody.